The Republican U.S. Senate nominee in Alabama's special election, Judge Roy Moore, is threatening legal action against the newspaper that printed on-the-record allegations that he molested a 14-year-old girl and pursued relationships with 3 other teenagers when he was in his 30s. Speaking to a forum last night in Huntsville, Alabama, at which media was not permitted, Moore said this.
Just 3 days ago, the Washington Post published another attack on my character reputation and desperate attempt to stop my political campaign. These attacks either involve a minor child and are completely false and untrue, and for which they will be sued.
Moore provided no details about what type of suit he planned to file or when he planned to file it. But on Saturday, he said he will provide new information within days and denied the claim of sexual misconduct with a 14-year-old.
I've been investigated more than any other person in this country. To think that grown women would wait 40 years to come right before an election to bring charges is absolutely unbelievable. There are investigations going on. In the next few days, there will be revelations about the motivations and the content of this article. They will be brought to the public. We fully expect the people of Alabama to see through this charade.
Moore did not respond to NBC's questions when leaving his event on Saturday, but he did answer some on Sean Hannity's radio show Friday.
Would it be unusual for you as a 32-year-old guy to have dated a woman as young as 17? That would be a, 15-year difference, or a girl 18. Do you remember dating girls that young at that time?
Not generally, no. If I did, I'm not going to dispute anything, but I don't remember anything like that.
But you don't specifically remember having any girlfriend that was in her late teens even at that time?
No, I don't remember that, and I don't remember ever dating any girl without the permission of her mother.
Would it be normal behavior back in those days for you to date a girl that's 17 or 18?
No, not normal.
If my daughter is 17, my daughter's 16 years old. If she's 17 or 18, I don't want her dating a 32-year-old.
I wouldn't either.
And you can say unequivocally you never dated anybody that was in their late teens like that when you were 32?
It would have been out of my customary behavior. That's right.
Oh my. A former colleague of Moore's in the county district attorney's office spoke out over the weekend. Teresa Jones posted on Twitter, as a deputy DA in Gadsden when Roy Moore was there, it was common knowledge about Roy's propensity for teenage girls. I'm appalled that these women are being skewered for the truth.
Meanwhile, Moore is accusing fellow Republicans of conspiring with Democrats to smear him. Last night, the Moore campaign sent a fundraising email with the subject line, quote, "McConnell's dirty plot to destroy me." Quote, according to sources, establishment Republicans are colluding with the Obama-Clinton machine behind the scenes in a desperate effort to sabotage my campaign and keep me out of Washington. But the pressure is increasing from Moore's potential future colleagues following the allegations he once engaged in inappropriate conduct with underage girls. On Saturday, Republican Senators Mike Lee of Utah and Steve Daines of Montana, who recently endorsed Moore, pulled their support. Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana also backed away in a Saturday tweet saying, quote, based on the allegations against Roy Moore, his response and what is known, I withdraw support. Tennessee Senator Bob Corker says it was a mistake to nominate Moore from the very beginning, writing on Twitter, quote, look, I'm sorry, but even before these reports surfaced, Roy Moore's nomination was a bridge too far. And yesterday, several other Republican senators suggested that Moore should end his campaign.
I don't know, Chuck. I don't know how this is going to turn out. This is just a terrible situation. Nearly 40-year-old allegation. We'll probably never know for sure exactly what happened. But from my point of view, I have to say, I think the accusations have more credibility than the denial. I think it would be best if Roy would just step aside.
Certainly, the allegations are very, very strong. The denial was not as strong as the allegations. I think if the allegations are true, there's no doubt that he should step aside, and not for the party, but for the American people. We have to find a way to restore trust and confidence in our elected officials in our government, and this goes in the wrong direction.
On Friday, the National Republican Senatorial Committee ended its joint fundraising agreement with the Moore campaign. But as of Sunday night, the Republican National Committee continues to have 11 field operatives on the ground in Alabama helping with Moore's campaign. Nicole, I saw you had a little catch in your throat there in the middle of this story. We've been talking about this since the story first broke when I was on your show a couple days back, about the end of last week. Why is it difficult for anybody at this point to do what some of these right-thinking Republicans have done and just say, we got to wash our hands of the pedophile here, or the accused pedophile, and figure out some way forward? There's no way in which the political damage from sticking with this guy is worth this Senate seat, if it's even salvageable for Roy Moore.
Okay, so here's the thing. It's not about political damage. These stories are all we're ever going to have. 4 women with nothing to gain and everything to lose, telling their story in the Washington Post attached to their name. That's it, people. There's not going to be something else. There won't be a trial, and this is not a criminal situation. He's not being convicted in a court of law. So we don't wait for a preponderance of evidence. We're not waiting for more fact. You believe the women or you don't. End of story. And Elise Jordan, for the life of me, I cannot figure out why no staffer has explained to these men who go on TV and say, I'm waiting for more information. For what? We're not convicting him. He's not going to jail. There's no due process in the court of public opinion. It's a privilege to govern under the banner as a Republican. It used to be. It's going to be a punishment in another 48 hours. But the notion that there's this construct, if true, no, this is it. This is all the information you're going to have, and 4 women under their name speaking about what have to be the most horrific moments of their lives, being fondled and touched by Roy Moore when they were teenage girls. That's it. That's all the information you're going to have.
It makes me sick to my stomach, the way that people have responded to this. It really is so chilling that the responses will make, if it's true.
It's not a trial,
and people
right.
saying 40 years, well, it was 40 years ago.
Right.
Well, who cares? That means that these women have been playing this on auto repeat every day of their lives.
That's right.
The one woman, the 14-year-old, she tried to commit suicide 2 years later. And then you have people saying, well, if these allegations are true, well, it made a big difference in that little girl's life and that woman's life.
Well, there is a solution now for the majority of Republican senators who refuse to take a real stand on this and instead choosing to say, you know, well, if this is true. But there's a solution. There's a path for them to follow. And it is the transcript, portions of the transcript, which we just read.
Yeah, the Hannity.
From Sean Hannity.
Yeah.
Sean Hannity to Roy Moore. Just read the transcript, senators, and make up your mind after you read that transcript.
You can't read that transcript without basically, given the way he's hedging on these questions.
Yes.
You can't help but, if you don't have to have covered cops for very long to look at that guy and say, that's a perp right there. That's not an innocent man. Bob, I want to come back to you, though, to come back to my, admittedly, obviously the political ramifications are not as important as the moral ramifications, but the political ramifications are real. We saw what happened to the Republican Party when they had a Todd Akin problem. The Todd Akin problem is dwarfed by the potential problem of Roy Moore for Republican candidates all over the country heading into 2018, where every one of them is going to be asked about Roy Moore if he ends up being, on a month from now, still being the Republican standard bearer in Alabama. Every Republican candidate is going to get this question. So just talk about the dimensions of that political problem for Republicans if they don't abandon this guy and quick.
It's a moment of choosing for both parties. Republicans, and especially President Trump, when he gets back from Asia, have to make a choice. On the Sunday shows, White House officials were hedging their comments, saying Moore has to have time to defend himself from the allegations. The president gave a similar comment when he was abroad. Are Republicans really going to stand by Moore? Not stand by Moore, but allow him to keep running if he refuses to quit the race? McConnell, of course, is taking a hard line. The White House is not. That's a choice they have to make. Democrats have to make a choice. Doug Jones, the prosecutor down there, running a very steady race, competitive in the polls. Are Democrats going to make a real play in the South? And what I'm watching as well, will any establishment Republicans, moderate Republicans, endorse Doug Jones? If they are so against Moore, how far are they willing to go in the coming weeks?
Heidi, a couple of Republicans in Washington, so obviously this strikes a nerve with most women, but they called me Friday afternoon after this show and said, what's the right thing to do? And I said, the right thing to do is either to run a write-in campaign for Luther Strange or get behind the Democrat. Is there any Kurt number 3 that I'm missing?
I don't think so, although I don't know that many Republicans are actually going to get behind the Democrat. But I think what you're going to see is more of them like Barbara Comstock, particularly Republican women who I'm sure you were talking with over the weekend. Look, this wasn't just the story. It was Roy Moore's response to it, in which he essentially doesn't deny having had these relationships. He denies assaulting the women, but then he says, I never dated any of them without permission from their mother. Well, who needs permission from their mother if you're another 30-year-old person? So it was his own response to this that was so problematic. And I also want to chime in, Nicole, on this from the perspective of the women that you were talking about earlier and the assault that they are coming under and why this is happening now. We saw the same thing in the Harvey Weinstein case. Why this is happening is because journalists, and might I also add, they are female journalists who went to these women and created this safe space for them to go ahead and tell their stories, and to do it in a way that the evidence was so overwhelming. They corroborated also time and place. For example, with Lee Korfman, that she actually was at the courthouse for a child custody hearing at the time that this happened. So it is also the fact that these women are being given a safe space by other female journalists to come forward and tell their story, which is also what happened in the case of the Harvey Weinstein stories that were coming out.
You know, Nicole, John mentioned earlier that, you know, if you're a cop and you're interrogating Roy Moore the way Sean Hannity interrogated Roy Moore, if you have a guy like Roy Moore in the box, in the interrogation room, and he's talking as he spoke with Sean Hannity, you're thinking one thing looking across the table: oh, there's more to come from this creep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's just more to come.
And you know, you look at, just to pick up Heidi's point about Harvey Weinstein, what happened after the original New York Times and New Yorker reports were more women. What has happened, if it's not true, what happens in the aftermath of and it's an exquisite piece of journalism from the Washington Post, in that there are so many concurrent accounts. But what's happened since the story first was published on Thursday midday is more concurrent accounts from people that were peers of the women who were assaulted by Roy Moore.
And the women have stood by their story. They've been asked.
And the men and the women in their lives from that point on have stood by the stories and have added memories, and the pictures become more full, not more foggy, which is why the foggy account on Sean Hannity is a joke.
You know, and to go to just his last thing is on this, Bob Costa made the point. Democrats right now, you know, before this story broke, you had Howard Dean. There was a big argument after last Tuesday's elections. Should Democrats go and play in Alabama? The race was tight, be a huge victory for Democrats. Now this story has broken. If Democrats do not have the courage, it doesn't shouldn't even take that much courage right now to go down there and really run this race, get down there behind their candidate and try to take this race. It would be a huge symbolic victory on a million dimensions, both in terms of the gender politics, the politics of the South. It'd be a giant victory that would send a huge message across the country. Democrats have to seize that moment right now if they are going to try to, if they really think they have a chance to take back control of the Senate and the House. This is a moment to show that they have enough guts to go down there and throw some money and some energy into this race.
When the women grab back. Next hour, we'll go.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.